Hey guys, this is your girl Lira, and you're listening to Self Reflection Podcast. Thank you guys for joining me on another episode of Self Reflection Podcast. I hope everyone is doing well today. And if you're not, I hope you find some time to take care of yourself, love on yourself, and, nourish your body. Today, I am going to be talking to Julius Jones, and we are going to be talking about how men heal too. We're going to be talking about this book um, and also his personal journey. And, you know, I think this is going to be one of the stories that where, when you hear it, you're going to say, God is good, God is real. And, God is literally here to allow us to keep going, to save us. God is here to protect us, and He wants the best for us. So, let me stop talking and introduce our guest today. Help me welcome Julius. Hi, Julius.
How you doing?
I am doing well this morning. Thank you. Had a little bit of, scattered with my workout, but we're here. So thank you again for joining me on Self Reflection Podcast.
Thank you for having me.
I didn't really give a super dense background of you, but if you don't mind, please, can you share a little bit about yourself so our family that is listening can get familiar with you?
My name Julius Jones, born and raised in the state of New Jersey, Jersey City. I've been incarcerated. Through my incarceration, I had to unlearn and relearn to get ahead. I was tired of being a loser because of simple fact I was watching my kids grow up through pictures. So I felt like a loser the whole time I was in prison for 11 years. So I said, to get out that mindset, that matrix being programmed, because you don't have to be in prison to be locked up. Your mind is a prison if you in this matrix, is you being programmed. So I had to reevaluate that and by educating myself. So everything I learned on based on reading about our culture, what I mean, learning about money, finances, real estate, things of that nature. And then, that's when I got out of prison. But it took me about 4 years before I was allowed to start public speaking at high schools, colleges, and centers.
So, um, you know, thank you for sharing that background with us. When you say you started learning, did you start learning in prison? All of this, like finance, culture, and so forth.
Yes, while I was in prison,
Yeah.
federal prison.
Yeah. Okay. So I do have your book here, Men Heal Too. What pursued you to wanting to, learn about like culture and, spirituality in the first place?
Well, when I was in state prison, because before I went to the federal prison, I was picked up from state prison from the U.S. Marshals. But while I was in state prison, I was in the prison yard, and one of my homies. That's what we say because I'm a Damu, I'm a Brim. You know what I mean? So I'm a blood. So I'm in the prison yard one day, and it's me and one of my other homies, and we talking. So then I had another homie that was from East Orange, New Jersey. So he was like picking my brain, but I ain't really paying no mind. So he said, man, I like how you think. He said, man, I got a book for you to read. So I'm like, what is it? So he said, you will you read it? I'm like, yeah. So I'm like, what's the name of it? He said, What They Never Told You in History Class. So later on that evening, because we locked down 23 and 1, locked down 23 hours a day. You only come out hour, you know what I mean? But honestly, most of the time we didn't get that hour because we had 4 riots and better a day since the whole time I was there. So anyway, like while I'm in my prison cell, I start opening the book and I start reading. So when as I'm reading it, I realized that the first president, which is they say George Washington, he's not the first president. He's the ninth president. He's the first president under the Constitution. They created the Constitution to knock out the first president. So it would make it seem like that as quote unquote everything that was started and was created by Caucasians, which is a lie. You know what I mean? So again, like the first president actually is a black man, is an African man, he's a Moor. His name is John Hanson. Obama is not the first president. Obama is the first president under the Constitution. So, and the sad part about these things is that everybody know this in the White House because John Hanson's statue of his face is inside the White House. And they don't even talk about it. John Hanson is the one that created the seal, which you look back in the dollar bill, which Bill Clinton proclaimed in 93 in his speech.
Yeah. Okay, we're just getting started, y'all. And I think like what you're saying is so true because honestly, before me getting on my own journey of like self-discovery, I didn't know none of those things you're saying. And
Yeah.
and when you talk about history class, what we get, what they teach us in school, it's literally for us to stay in the system, in the matrix. It's them creating workers.
Yes.
So when you talk about you finding, yourself finding knowledge in prison, I I I would say like you said earlier, people are in prison out here
Mm-hmm.
more than we think they are,
Yes.
more than we think we are. We are so much in a cage in this matrix that sometimes it doesn't even feel real to live here because
Yes.
everything is so programmed. You
Yes.
And I think I was listening to some podcast or some radio show, and they were saying if you look into our cities, everything looks like a movie scene. Everything
Yes.
looks like a stage set up to, live a certain way. So it definitely correlates with what you're saying.
Yes.
You know, let's move into a like this book a little bit. Let's talk about this book, and then we're gonna go back into you know the other part of the podcast. So with this book, there's five men that collaborate in this book. How did you get started into this book? How did you get invited?
No, that's one of the that's one of God's plans. An amazing thing because I was moving around a lot last year. You know what I mean? God just guided my steps. And the wild part about that is that the whole time I've been on this journey with the Heavenly Father, I didn't even know actually what was going on. I was just moving, stepping out based on faith. Because I didn't know what stepping out on faith, nothing by sight or nothing until he guided me to go to North Charleston at one of my younger relative places at the time, which was last June. So June, June 12th, which is my birthday, he guided me to go to North Charleston. Then when I get there, by like a week and I say no more than 2 weeks, I'm on TikTok one night. It's not even at night. It's at it's in it's like it's around like this time.
Yeah.
And like, right before 12 in the afternoon and or right after. And God just guided this woman named Latrina, that's the author of the book, because I'm one of the co-authors of the book, but she's the author. So again, he guided her page on my TikTok. He just been guiding certain people that's connected to him on a spiritual level. And because I didn't follow her. She didn't follow me. And she just popped up and I seen that she was an author. So me being a genuine man that I am, it's somebody else that's on my page and she has a podcast for women. So I'm like, all right, I see that she's an author. So I reached out to her. I commented and I tagged her name. And I said, forgive me. You know what I mean? I said, I love what you're doing. You know what I mean? With your book, would you mind getting on the podcast? I don't, but I ain't presented. I presented to her as I knew the woman, but I ain't know her. It is
Mhm.
that I'm connecting the dots. You know what I mean? This is how you network. So I reached out to her. She said, sure. So I hit the other woman that's on my Facebook page, but she's also on my TikTok too. But I don't know her neither. You know what I'm saying? But we just love each other energy for what we doing. I guess I'm assuming because she accepted my page by looking, observing my page, what I'm doing, what I'm, you know. So again, like I switched Gmails, and then she started telling me what she does.
Mm.
So when she told me she do with nonprofit with domestic violence and women that have been raped and things like that, that's when I presented myself where I do game prevention, intervention, educational guidance. I speak at high schools, colleges, centers. I work with, speak about PTSD, you know what I mean, traumas, things of that nature, right? So I say, you know, my books are about these things. It's about peace treaties, all of that. Well, even with rape. So that's when she sent me her business line. And then she said, call her in 10 minutes. So then I call her in 10 minutes. So then she give me so I'm moving too fast. Prior to that, she said when she said in the prior to giving her 10 minutes, she give me her business Facebook page. When I get on her Facebook business Facebook page, I was amazed what I was seeing because what's on her Facebook business page is not on her TikTok. And what I mean by that, at the time, I'm thinking that she's an author of one book. She's an author of 10 books, over 10 books. Then she got a nonprofit. Then she do modeling. Then she's like a councilwoman or something, right? So I'm like, damn, she's doing some amazing things. So now when I call her, get on the phone, she started telling me how she respect what I'm doing. I'm saying the same thing, and then she brings up the Mid Hill 2 book.
Mhm.
And then she said, you know, I mean, it's a deadline. One person could have been given his chapter, but she like, I'm on the top. So she said, I would love to have you on it. Like you fit this perfect. So I said, what the book is about? She said, self-healing, growth, and leadership. I said, oh, that's easy. So mind you, at the time, I remember the exact day when I did it. It was June 26th of last year because right after that, I was on my way back to Jersey because I was being the best man of my first relative wedding. So I told her, I said, she said, how many pages? So she was like, she like 3 or 4 pages. Man, within 2 hours, I gave her 15 pages.
Yeah.
That's how that happened.
Man, God works in wonderful ways. And I think, your story definitely aligns really well in here with everyone else. Why was it so important for you to be in this book?
It was important because little boys and me being a man, a black man at that, teenage boys, young men and men, we don't get that. We don't hear that from men.
Yeah.
And then when we do hear these type of things, we hear from people that 8 out of 10, we can't identify what they saying because they don't relate to what we going through. They're not relating to what we see. They not relating to the PTSD and the traumas that we going day to day and uh what we call the hood, which is poverty. They're not going through these type of things because our PTSD and trauma is based on them corners in the streets. Because let's be realistic. The average black boy, he growing up to be in the street life or the gang life, which is sad, but that's a sad truth. You
Yeah.
know, everybody love to listen what's real instead of digesting, and they scared to hear the truth, and that's the truth. So everything I'm doing, it coexists. Every household and every family was going through, not in just in this country, but this world. But we just gonna say this country, you
Yeah.
know. So it was. I knew God guided me to be in that book because He gave me a vision once I started doing my chapter because
Yeah.
it's showing you what He took me from and where I'm headed at.
Yeah,
So
absolutely. Because one of the lines that you said, you have at least 36 names tatted on your body of people that have passed, 36 homies that have died from, you know, you just writing their names on their body. Why is it important for you to remember them in that way?
about respect. It's about love. It's about honor. You know what I mean? And truthfully, I say about out of the 36 names, Most of them I haven't even met, but it's just a respect and an honor, appreciation that and that world, you know what I mean, you dedicated to something that I dedicated my life to. So even though, in all honesty, it's ignorance and stupidity, but yet this is our world. So being this is our world, you know what I mean, it's about love and dedication, and it's but most importantly is respect, because you can't love something if you don't have respect for it first. And they died behind something that I risked my life and freedom for, and that's what got me to imprison in the first place. But 36 names, honestly, truthfully, and it's hurtful to say, but that's a low number because I lost over 90 homies. And I ain't talking about other sets. I'm talking about one from one set, over 90 homies. And these names, it's in Jersey. This is because, like I said, again, I'm in LA as we speak, but I'm from Jersey, and this is in Jersey. So, you know, that was important for me to put their names on my body, and they're gonna live through me. You know what I'm saying? So that's what that was.
Yeah. We're gonna get back into this, like this part of your life in a little bit, but because it's controversial when you speak, right? Because it's like you're honoring, the people that you're part of in this gang, the Bloodset. But also in your book, you also stated something about how, you can't really like what's the point of getting put on to any blood set when you got to wash your back from your
Yeah.
own hands.
Yes.
So how does that work? Because it's like, yes, you guys are all dedicated to for the same cause, so called.
Hmm.
And then but at the same time, you have to be very mindful of who you have around you.
But
You
that's the thing.
you don't
Oh,
sleep with peace in your mind because you know somebody might just come after you.
yeah. But that's the thing. It's all a myth. Nobody's out here telling the truth. And the
Yeah.
people that telling the truth, they get the doors short behind them because street life, gang life, the $3 bill, which is the industry, respectfully, religion, and a system, they all have three things in common: greed, control, and power.
Yeah.
So everything is a facade, it's a myth. Like you got to watch your own set more than anybody else. You know what I mean? It takes a while for you to figure that and realize that and digest it. And it's a hurtful feeling because after you put your heart and dedication in something the whole time, your real enemies is the ones that's throwing up the same set, that's throwing up the same sign. And then most importantly, you your own worst enemy, because if you actually respect and love yourself, you wouldn't never be doing what you're doing in the first place. You wouldn't never be in those streets. You would never be in no clique. You would never get put onto no set. You never be risking your life or freedom for something that you don't even own. And that's the harsh reality of it. The situation is there's people not willing to tell the truth. There's people willing to sabotage the truth or lie for their own benefit so they could utilize people. Then when they get in there, then they're just gonna find somebody else. So that's why I just hold myself accountable. I mean, excuse me, I hold myself accountable, and I'm not worrying about what somebody else saying or doing, whatever. Which is clear. It don't matter how would a person feel, would they agree with me or not. I'm, I'm speaking from a genuine place, from a pure place, which is my heart. So I don't gotta think what to say because I got the experience from 10 years old. We talking about from 92 and it's 2023. So I went through everything walks in life. So there's nobody on this earth gonna tell me nothing about nothing.
Yeah. You mentioned how young you were. And also when I was reading this book, I saw that you were helping children from like you're right now trying to help children from 8 years old to 21-year old. And how damaging is that to our culture when we so-called jump young men and women? I think women are part of this as well. When we so-called jump young Black children into gangs like this, how damaging is it to our culture? Because I don't see any forward movement here, but people dying every single day. Because when we also look at the statistics in the African American community, we see that like 58 to 60% of the homicide that's caused in our community is done by someone that we know.
Yeah.
So literally, we're in our own community killing each other. And then when it comes down to something as, heavy as a gang community, how damaging is that to our young children and our community?
I'm gonna answer step by step. Like, for one, look, that's another myth that everybody that don't get put on, being that I'm from the East Coast and the South, they not born into it. It's a choice and decision they make. So it's a certain line, they age bracket that they get put on. Like on the East Coast and the South, you got a lot of people that get wait until they mid-20s and they 30s to get put onto a game, which is ridiculous. So let digest that for a second. They wait until they 20 something to 30 years old to join a gang, to get put onto a gang. That in itself is sad because you got the blind leading the blind.
Yep.
Like, if you 20 something years old, 30 years old, where you still worrying about being part of a gang, like that's ridiculous. You know what I mean? But then on the West Coast out here, this is a culture. It's not a gang. You know what I mean? So, but then overall picture is that 75% from each tribe, whether Crip, Blood, whatever, the average person is not committing no violence. They're not shooting people. They're not killing people. Because if they were, the numbers of homicides would be ridiculous. That's not the case. So it's a myth. You know what I mean? A lot of times the situations be happening, even though a person part of the game, it got something to do with a woman, or it got something to do with a person getting backdoor. Backdoor meaning that that person, like we just hung out with each other, and then right after that, you jealous and hate me for something, so you gonna backdoor me by shoot me in the back of my head. That's what you
Yeah.
call a backdoor, or somebody gonna line you up to go to prison because now they want to take your spot, or you dealing with a certain female to get you out the way. I'm gonna do this, and that's what's going on because you know what I mean. We talking about the gang culture, right? So the gang culture itself, 93% of the people that's in the gang is snakes. You just got to pick and choose what title, what name they is. But most people are snakes. The 7% get the end of the stick. They either gonna get locked up, one or two things: end up in prison or end up dead, or they got shot up by their own homie
Yeah.
because everybody is in competition with each other. But far from the East Coast, this was really going on as we speak in the East Coast and the South. That's why when people be talking about loyalty and they talk about I'm real and I'm gangster, like it bothers me. You know what I mean? Because I used to laugh at it. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? But after a while, I when it go one end out the other, because if you real or you loyal or whatever the case may be, you don't got to say that. Like, I heard you the first 20 times, you're gonna keep repeating the same thing that what you are. That means that you just trying to get people to believe, and you, most important, you trying to believe that yourself. Because if you're a man don't gotta say here, man. Your character and your integrity gonna speak volumes. That's for man, young lady. I never had to use them titles because I am comfortable with me. So even though I wasn't comfortable with myself, I still carry myself in that way because at the end of the day, I don't value titles. That's not my God. Because a title is a God. Now, I
Yeah.
mean, title, that's what entitlement says. Idolizing titles. You know, I mean, all of that's part of the matrix, you know. So, and
Mm.
what it was another question you had asked.
I oh, I kind of scared. I don't know where that I don't remember the question that I asked because I think you cover a whole lot of it in my own uh, you know I think I had asked you about what is the point of getting into a game if the person that you have to be around, you have to watch your back, which was
Oh,
something
okay.
that you wrote in your book.
Okay, well, people get put on for various reasons. A sense of belonging. They don't have family. They the only sibling. They may be getting jumped by a certain gang, and this person may have their back, and now they embrace them. But that's all this a scheme, this to drive people in though at the end of the day. Because at the end of the day, there's no love, there's no unity, there's no camaraderie. We in a space in 2023, whereas though everybody is before they even pull up to another homie, they rather connect on social media. Social media is not authentic. That's not reality. That's the matrix. Look what you meet in a person. You meet in a person that's already a part of a game that you claim that you love. So make it make sense to me. If it's in the streets, it belongs in the streets, not in, what I mean. So like it's so many like twists and turns. Is like I don't understand it, and I don't try to understand it because that's not my world. When I was a part of the ignorance, the stupidity, the foolishness, the grown boy mentality, because that's what it is. It's a grown boy mentality, and it ain't had nothing to do with social media. And what I see people do today is mind blowing. Like people time and time again is that they reach out with each other first to follow each other, and after they feel comfortable with a couple of likes and comments, now they want to start meeting up with each other. So y'all meeting up with each other just to talk about other grown men, and that's foolishness and stupidity to me. You know what I mean? Like if you're gonna meet up with somebody, you network and create avenues and create the bridge gaps, whereas or to make your community better. Or if that's not your line of work, trying to learn something whereas though it could put you in a better situation financially, and help your family out. Everybody got kids, but nobody's forcing on their kids. So that's the selfishness. You
Hmm.
know what I mean? But I'm not gonna point the finger because even though I don't agree with them things, I was still selfish myself. Cause I did prison time. I watched my kids grow through prison. So even though my kids' mothers knew what I was doing, it doesn't matter. Once a child come in the mix, coming to fruition, it's your responsibility to make the necessary steps to change to rearrange your life. And if you don't do that, then you just more selfish as anybody else.
Absolutely. I agree
Mhm.
100%. You know, excuse me. So, I want to dive into something you said earlier. Um, Gang life, street life, religion, entertainment, and politics. Those are all one and the same.
Yeah.
They're all on they all have the same principle and the same value.
Yes.
Can you dive into more? Can you go deeper into more what you mean by that?
Oh, everything is based on fear, greed, control, power. All of that sums up to fear. It's about fear. How could how could utilize you, how could use you, how could manipulate you. That's all part of the narcissist. That's what narcissists do. Manipulate people. I use you for my bidding. So again, like far as on the East Coast and in the South, that's what the gang so quote unquote culture, that's what they do. Because you would think the streets run the gangs. Nah, on the East Coast and the South, the prisons run the gangs on the streets. It
Mm,
is very few certain individuals that stand on their own 2 feet, and you speaking to one of them. But the average person, 98.9%, everybody as we speak is waiting for somebody to listen to somebody from prison to be told what to do, when to do it, how to do it. So that's why it's so many gang sweeps that be happening. And that's why the people that's be in jail remain in jail. And that's why they even get even more time put on them because they start in their own sets, they start in their own gangs in prison. But then that internalized, they put people in jail in prison. And then when they come home, and then when that person that come home started moving how he moving, he relaying that message and not knowing that this person got a wiretap on him, and that person just recording it. Then he turned around, put a wiretap on that person that actually started the game. So now you got one big conspiracy and one big racketeria case and Rico going on. And this
yeah.
been going on. And this been going on for over 20 years on the East Coast and the South. And you would honestly think people would get wise, because smart people make foolishness and dumb decisions every day. Cause I was once smart. So I know this. You know what I mean? You gotta have wisdom, become wise. And becoming wise is when to know when to walk away. Because ain't no win. And the feds, and when you're doing federal penitentiary time, they show you that. Because mind you, in the feds, 60% of the people are snitches. But then you add another 35%, whereas though they coming out here to work for the federal government. So they'll
Yeah.
change their identity and send you somewhere to start working on people. And I synced it first hand in hand. And this another thing that older people, older men that's older than me, that don't come out here and speak about. But they're not going to speak about these things because they are doing it. And if they ain't doing it, they didn't told on. They didn't set somebody up already. You're not going to hear people talk the way I talk because it's coming from a genuine place. If I if I feel like a loser of watching my kids grow up through prison, why would I want you to come here and do the same thing? Not to say you won't do it on your own, but you're going to do that on your own. I'm not going to dictate you and tell you, yo, I want you to do this. I want you to send me this, or I want you to sell these drugs, or I want you to shoot this person. I want you to kill that person. Like, you know what I mean? Even though it's ignorance and stupidity, but from that mentality, from that perspective, when it was on site, because that's what time, excuse me, that's the type of time I was on site at one point in my life, doing with the disease mentality that I had back then. I was on site. So it's like, I'm not going to tell you to do something I could do myself, because if I get caught, I'm going to get lesser time anyway. You want to know why? Because if I tell another person to do something for me, I'm going to get life, because that means that I got control over you. That means I got power over a person. So that means that we gotta get rid of you. You see
Yeah.
what I'm saying? Now the person that pulled the trigger, he gonna get lesser time because he told the prosecutors that, yeah, he told me to kill that person. And this is what's going on in society. As we speak, this been going on since the 70s. But
Yeah.
nobody's speaking about this. Nobody even schooling these younger generations, this youth, these teenagers. These teenagers be looking up to people with these names and they ain't even knowing the average person. Like, just because you a shooter don't make you real. Just because you killed somebody don't make you a killer. Because the average person that's a shooter, the average person is a killer. When they get in jail, what's the first thing they doing? They breaking down the interrogation room, which people don't talk about. People talk about the person that shot and killed the person, but they don't ever talk about the person, what happened to them in that interrogation room, how they be crying, breaking down crying, pointing out everybody in the pictures. They don't talk about when they go in that prison cell, how they begging like for forgiveness and all of that. That's all of this is a myth. The average person that's out here is perpetrating an image and they just selling it. And it makes it bad because the industry is making money off of everybody blood, sweat, and tears, and the end, and everybody get the end bad course of it, the innocent people, the bystanders, the kids that become motherless and fatherless, and then the mothers got to bury their own sons, all their sons, or two of their sons out of three. You know what I'm saying? And it's like when people going to start holding themselves accountable, man, and like that ain't nothing gangster about that at
Yeah.
all.
I
Everybody lying.
I agree with you 100%. And when you're talking, I thought about it as if so-called the gangsters, right? That say this is my block, this is my hood,
Yeah,
and we go down into those, go down those neighborhoods. None of them owns those places. To me, and it seems like black men, I'm going to stick with black men here because I know also our Latino brothers, are very big in the gang culture as well. So,
yeah,
and Asians as well. So I would
yeah,
say colored people, right? We're here protecting a land that doesn't even, or a neighborhood that isn't ours. So
yes,
our men are out here doing watch night, security guards for somebody that, you know, is going to put you in jail without even thinking twice.
yeah,
And it's like, what benefit what benefit do we have from that perspective? Because all that happens is our men ends up being incarcerated for years, and then our children grow up with just their mothers, and then we wonder why our society is the way it is.
yes.
you know um excuse me, I'm sorry. when you were incarcerated, right, and your children were out here, what part of how did you build your relationship, or did you have any relationship with them?
Yes, no, I I was seeing my kids. My mama brought them up. My youngest daughter mother, she brought she they I seen them a lot when I was in the county jail. Then once I went down state prison, my youngest daughter mother, she brought my daughter. Like I had a relationship, but that's the thing, the Heavenly Father don't use the kid word relationship. He used partnership. Relationship is a matrix for one, and for two, regardless of what, you never will have a bond with your kids like that because you have to be there physical, mentally, spiritually, emotionally. So no matter how many letters I wrote, no matter how many times I may have seen my kids, at the end of the day, it's still a lost big gap, a connection. Because my youngest daughter, she ain't say she loved me until after 4.5 years I was home out of prison. And I've been home since 2014. I haven't went back to nothing. I'm not on federal parole. I'm not on gain enhancement, none of that no more. So it hurts because but I understand that why it took her that long, but at the same time, it just wakens you up.
Yeah,
Again, most men don't care. Most men, you don't hear people talk about their kids in prison. Only thing they talking about when they get out on the streets and what chick they gonna get up with and all of that. Or they worrying about who's sending them drugs or who they can manipulate. And this is reality. You know what I mean? Like dudes who not even they even thinking about their kids. They would get mad because whatever women they was dealing with, or and if they was with they child mother, they get mad because they not in the house or they ain't answer their phone. And the thing I hit them with, and I be serious when I say it, and I be like, damn, if you was worrying about her when you was on the streets, you wouldn't be here with me, homie. Like, nah, you understand? No, you missing the whole point. What I'm saying,
yeah,
you stressing and worrying about somebody that you ain't even give 2 cents about spending quality time with. When she asked you just to give her a couple of hours, you wanted to chill with the homies. But them same homies you rushing to be with, you over here for them. And that's another thing. Everybody keeps saying they loyal out here, but when you get in that behind that cell, you don't over hear from them people. And if anybody on this in this country say any different, ain't lying. The only reason they hearing from people from now because it's easy to get a cell phone inside any prison system.
mhm,
Any so if I got a cell phone, it's easy for me to call you.
yeah,
But if I don't got a cell phone, and if I use that collect call, let's see how many gonna pick up that phone. Let's see who many was gonna send me something. They not. They not even thinking about you. Because the average person don't even care about nobody cares about nobody. We living in a selfish world. This is selfish and deceitful world. So how anybody keeps talking about they loyal when you not even loyal to yourself? How many times, how many prison bids that you did? How many birthdays that you missed? How many first steps that you missed? How many times you missed graduations, recitals, father and daughter dances, baseball practice, football games, basketball games. Nobody want to talk about these things though, but everybody real. Miss me with that, man. That's why I don't go by titles. Ain't nobody can sit here, they can say they real. Because you gotta be a real, you gotta be able to look at yourself in the mirror. Until people know how to identify and hold themselves accountable and stop be looking at that reflection in the mirror, you are not fit to lead. And if you can't lead yourself, you can't lead your family. And if you're not a praying man, you're not fit to lead. You're not the man of the house. If you're not a praying man, you're not even the man of the house.
yeah,
The woman is the man of the house because 8 out of 10, the woman is a praying woman. She don't have to be perfect, but a woman would gravitate to praying before a man because 8 out of 10 a man deal with pride and ego. And that's what's killing us. Nobody don't want to tell the truth. And then you have the people that know these things that have the knowledge, but they don't share it. Because people always say knowledge is power. Knowledge is not power. Information is power.
Hmm.
You have all the knowledge you want, but if you ain't walking in that information and spreading that information, then it's useless. Like you more of a fool than the person that is a fool because you aware what's going on and you not sharing the information.
Absolutely. I agree 100%. And how did you find your way back to spirituality within yourself? Because in your book it says identify your flaws within yourself. How when it comes down to steps to healing and leadership.
Yahweh, the Heavenly Father, when he came to my life, like
Yeah.
he came in my mouth. I mean, excuse me, he came in my life. Like people, it's like what's the word I'm looking for? It's to them is to anybody that listened to my last few very few podcasts is the last interview I did and the interview before that it's throwing everybody off. I know that for a fact because people don't never heard me talk about God the way I do now. You know what I mean? Because again, I'm not a talker, I'm a doer. I don't talk like everybody think they know me and they don't. My mama know me, I don't talk. So therefore, like people in general don't even know how God came in my life and when he came in my life. And the Heavenly Father, he came in my life at 221, the February, and that's like because he prevented me from going to commit multiple murders. I was on my way. Like I just got in Journal Square. And Journal Square is a shopping center and also it's a train station because I don't live in Jersey. So I was coming from where I had my place at in South Philly because I was kicked out of my state for 5 years for gang enhancement. They kicked me out of my state when I was in state prison before the U.S. Marshals came and snatched me from the state penitentiary to send me to the federal penitentiary. So again, like and I was doing these things because my own sect crucified me by lying on my name. You know what I mean? Dragging my name. You know what I mean? So that's what I was going to do. I was going because I already remember the addresses where they would lived at and everything, and that's how God came in my life on this block called Tunnel Ave. Tunnel Ave, it goes towards where you can hit the back way where you go into Lincoln Tunnel going towards inside of Manhattan in New York. You know what I mean? Or you could go towards Newark and East Orange, Irvington and Patterson and things of that nature. Or you know what I mean, or you could hit the boulevard. I was on my way to hit the boulevard, and that's when God came to my life. I won't say how he came in and all, but he came in my life, and I would just say that how he came in my life in a way that it haven't been done in centuries, and that's how he came in my life, and yeah, that's what got me back into spirituality, and stepping out on faith and not by sight. And he the one that had told me, what I mean, I'm not working from nobody no more.
Yeah.
Because he guided me to write three of my because I got 3 books prior to me being a co-author of Men Hill too. So he guided me to write each book, you know. So, everything he doing is colliding with what he has me doing. But that's how I got back into my divine self and like he teaching me and showing me the vision. So he talked to me in the morning, he talks to me in the afternoon, he talks to me in the evening, he talks to me at night. And I just talk back. So I've been on this journey with him since 221. But I didn't my first time actually stepping out on faith was my biggest test was packing up all my things and leaving my place and leaving just with my own clothes that's on my back. And that was like the big test because at the time I had um I had a 401k job. I
Mm.
had life insurance, I had health insurance, I had dental insurance. And from a man from my background and caliber, you don't. That's rare to hear a person that has all them things. You know what I mean? And I had them things, and I had to give it up to walk with him. So it's like, so he guided me to kill my flesh and carry the cross. That was like when I took that step, which was in March. That's when I killed my flesh and carried the cross.
Yes, yes. And you just mentioned how you had to leave your job that was a stable job somewhat, and you had to move yourself from wherever you are. And in this book, the next question I was going to ask you is, you wrote about to be able to change your circumstances, you to change your outcome, you have to change your circumstances, which is something that you just talked about. And I think a lot of times, like when we stay in the same environment, we get the same results over and over. We don't because sometimes it's like, yes, some of the things that we do from our behavior comes from our DNA, comes from our ancestors, but also our environment definitely can guide us to change our behavior and the things that we act upon in our daily day lives. So when you say you have to like change your entire place and follow God's plan, I think that's what a lot of people have to recognize, like, to be different, which is one of the quickest ways to like change who you are as a person, is changing the environment that you're in you know so I really like how you said that. And then one of the last ones that you said was finding out who you truly are. Eh, it says find out who you truly are and what you always want to be. What does that mean for when it comes down to healing? What does that mean when you find out who you truly are? How do people, if a young gangster or a black man or anybody that's listening is looking to find who they truly are, how do they know when they found themselves?
You won't find yourself until you heal that brokenness that's inside you. So the first to get to the brokenness is what you call, what the Heavenly Father taught me, is dead weight. All the dead weight you surround yourself, you accumulate, because our bodies are our temples. You know what I mean? This is our temple. So everything we digest, everything we put inside our bodies, how we speak, how we talk, how we move, how we walk, how the activities, you know what I mean, how we see the world is damaging us and what we accept inside us. You know what I mean? So the broken stage can happen as an adolescent, as a kid, as a teenager, as a young adult or adulthood. But once you don't attack that brokenness, now the damaging parts. It is damage on top of damage on top of damage on top of damage. Now it's going to it's take a person tired of being tired, tired of these circumstances, tired of going through the same situation, tired of surviving. Because we're not taught to thrive. We hold surviving as a badge and honor, not knowing that that's what's keeping us enslaved.
Yep.
That's what's keeping us in poverty. That's what's keeping us depressed, anxiety, stress, PTSD, trauma, surviving. Because after you survive this day, now you starting all over again. So you gotta make a decision, a grown man, grown woman decision to realize and really look that reflection in the mirror and look and step outside of yourself and look within yourself. Like, how can I change? In order you to see change, you gotta have to want change. And having to want change, you gotta change you. Because you can't want and see nothing until you change what's inside of you. Because we all are broken. All of us. We all born in sin. All of us. That's why, you know what I mean? The Son of Christ was here for, to die for our sins. And what we not taught is that the Heavenly Father don't judge us by our actions. He judges by our hearts. It's our hearts that we go off of actions, and I was one of them. It's the honest truth. You know what I mean? I was big on, you got to show and prove, not realizing that's the easiest way to get manipulated and used
Yep.
because a person can do all the right things for all the wrong reasons. And again, this is the deceitful, selfish world that we in. Because soon as something don't go out that person individual way, what's the first thing people do? 8 out of 10. They will bring up something what they did for you. So they count in favors. That means that they were just using you for a time pick. So that's what's called selfishness. You know what I mean? So again, like, you got to start cutting people that's in your life and not in your corner. Whoever just in your life, you got to cut them out because they don't want what's best for you. They just want what's best for them. Because if a person is in your corner, they secure within themselves. They confident with themselves. You know what I mean? They coming from a genuine place. They want to see you do what's best for you because they already know the potential that you have. But being that we are born of this world, we look at positivity as being whack. Most people do, not all people, but most people. That's why it's so easy to get into the negative things because it's all at hand. Soon you reach out your hand, it's easy to get in all to the negative things. Why? Because it's easy to get, it's easy to grasp it. You could buy your way things in anything. You see what I'm saying? For the most part. Now, when it comes for speaking the truth, when it speaks to righteousness, when it's going by your full potential, your path and your journey, and what God's plan for your life, yeah, it's going to be through wilderness. It's going to be trials and tribulations. But through them wilderness and trials and tribulations, it's going to build up greatness is inside you, accomplish things. He's teaching you ways though to have ownership, to be a CEO, to have your own corporation, to have your own business. You know what I mean? You thinking about being a manager. He thinking of you running a business over here somewhere, to start your own LLC somewhere. But we not knowing this because we don't even know who we are. We don't know who we come from. So until you shed that dead weight out of your life, and then you got to have a praying life. Because once you start praying, to like that's one of the most easiest things you can have God in your life, and He can start showing you what is your gift and what purpose that He had for you. Because we all born with a gift, we all have a purpose in life. But there's a few of us that have a higher purpose, and that highest purpose is those that He chose for a specific a task, because that task is to serve the people. You know what I mean? But we all have a purpose. We all have a purpose in life. But until you know what I mean, shine that dead weight from you, even including family, sibling, and whatnot, and work on yourself. You got to work on yourself. You know what I mean? And then start reading, start educating yourself. Start with the book What They Never Told You in History Class. Then start with another book called 1001 Things Everyone Should Know About African American History. Then start with another book called Behold the Pale Horse. Then start with another book called, you know what I mean, the Willie Lynch, the Letter, Making of a Slave, another book called Unseen Hand. Then you want to start with the other book called The New Jim Crow. Then after all of that, then you start with the Holy Bible, not the New Testament. You start with the Old Testament because you start with the Old Testament. The Old Testament going to tell you where you come from and who the Heavenly Father chose as a nation. When Moses took, when he got in Moses to take the Hebrew people out of Egypt, that's when he put his hand over that nation. So it's no rebuttal what I'm about to say. How can anybody outside of any black race can say that they was here first when Caucasian man didn't come in existence to 10,000 years later? Everything was already created, far as like who the Heavenly Father picked and chose. You know what I'm saying? But at the end of the day, everybody as a whole, different nationalities are bigger than bad about black or white. When at the end of the day, us as a nation, as a people, we the one that gave them the knife to stick in our own back in the first place. So how can we be mad at them to doing something that we allowed them to do to us in the first place? Our ancestors allowed it off of greed because we had everything. We had the diamonds, we had the gold, and the land. We ain't appreciate it. So everything we going through is designed that way for a reason because we ain't appreciate it. So all right, y'all don't appreciate it. I'm gonna allow them to steal this. And that's what happened. And that's the reality of it because the Old Testament and the New Testament, it's a 400-year gap. It's a reason why they got Enoch not in part of the Old Testament. Because for one, Enoch is dark skinned. He's not brown skinned, he's dark skinned. Then, most importantly, it's going to give everybody to actually believe not only Black people was here first, but there is actually a God because Enoch did not experience death. Enoch, that's why we got 365 days in a year because he lived 365 years. But they ain't going to teach you that. See, people don't read the book of Enoch. You don't hear people talk about the book of Enoch. Everybody talk about Daniel. Everybody talk about Solomon. Everybody talk about Jeremiah, Joseph. Why nobody talk about Enoch? Because you talk about Enoch, it's going to get everybody to believe. And I say that because if most people in this world believe that there is a true higher self, higher live being, which is Yahweh God, they wouldn't be using no rainbow as a sexuality. There will be no gay parade. There will be no same-sex relationships. There will be no same-sex marriage. There will be no changing genders. You see what I'm saying? So, and then at the same time, these laws that they have wouldn't exist. Moses is the Lord, the true law giver, nobody else. And them laws was through the Heavenly Father that gave that to them. So all these laws that we have is for the matrix. It's not for the spiritual. That's why they say at the end of the day, only God could judge you. Because we living in a deceitful world again. Because we are living based on lies. We thinking everybody, even people that's in the matrix, thinking that they are in control of their life when they are not. You are deceived to think you in control of your life because they don't even teach us about money. So these are things that people got to digest to get out and become their higher self. Because if you're not, you're gonna remain a slave.
Absolutely, I agree. And I think you just mentioned something that just sparks another thought of mine, being a father. And I also know you had sent me, I was just reading on the article that you had sent me from the New York Catholic Church of the priest pronouncing that, God is a trans person.
Yes.
Being a father and having children, and then seeing, all these places, because I truly believe that the reason why people don't believe, well, not the full reason, but the majority of the reason why people don't believe in church, people don't believe in God anymore in this way, is because the church is wishy-washy. One minute they say something, next minute they say something. So how can you put faith and trust into something that you're supposed to be looking up to, but yet every now and then there's something new coming out of the church? Because I truly believe if the church would have stick with one thing and stay with it and stay firm to what they started believing in, then people might actually have a decision making of, okay, I'm not going to believe in this and I'm going to not believe in this. And I also believe that a lot of people are not truly coming into this new world that we're entering, and they're connecting with their own God within them. They're connecting with their higher self. So there's that confusion there that's trying to be being set up, by the system.